Oh, Derek. Derek, say hi. Hi. So here we are. It's turn it down a bit. It's January 1st.
Mm-hmm.
Last show was supposed to be tonight, wasn't it?
Yes.
Whereabouts?
Why not?
And where are we right now, Derek?
About 15 minutes due north of Pierre.
And what are we doing here, Derek, on the side of the road?
Dan's let us down, Chris.
So,
Took us about 8,000 miles or so, but it's had it let us down.
You are listening to Unscripted Moments, a podcast about propaganda. On this episode, we are talking about the Van Lament, track number 30, on Where Quantity is Job Number 1. This isn't a real song, but instead it's just like a low quality recording of a conversation had by the band when they were broken down on the side of the road. The liner notes of Where Quantity is Job Number 1 read, recorded about 15 minutes due north of Pierre, South Dakota, on New Year's Day, 1990 something, possibly our most representative recording to date.
Yeah, the details of this are a little fun to kind of parse out. Over the course of the last couple of years, I've kind of noticed a few things that led me to kind of dissect this in a new way, because the conversation with Chris and Jord, and I believe the Derek on the recording is Derek Riel, who was our guest way back when on the Rattan Cane episode. So that was really cool to be like, because I was thinking at first, I was like, oh yeah, Derek Hogue from G7 Welcoming Committee. I was like, wait a second, is that Derek Riel who was on the podcast? And I think it's Derek Riel. I'm almost certain. So that's a little bit of a fun little thing that I was enjoying while I was listening to it.
Yeah, and they talk about highlights of tour.
Yeah.
And the conversation goes really nowhere.
Yeah.
Chris tries to get Derek and Jord to reflect on the highlight of the tour, but the conversation just breaks down into discussing farts. And and then so maybe that makes sense. It's drawing lines, like you said, after doing so much research or networking or making connections with people, and then finding these connecting points between the band and their like friend and band networks. That's a cool thing that has unfolded since the start of the show. Yeah.
And Keith, you were able to determine, I think, with a fair degree of accuracy, what the tune playing in the background is. What were you like? Because you kind of discovered that. I was like, what is this? What is this?
I don't think I heard this before. I'm pretty sure I had never listened to this. And I'm pretty sure it's Slayer, Divine Intervention. I mean, just the Tom Araya's voice right away. I was like, wait a second, but it's not the best recording. You can't really, it's a little jarbled, the recording of the conversation. But I'm pretty sure it's from Divine Intervention. Yeah.
Nice. And I was like, is that early enough in Slayer's career? So I went on Discogs and I found that Slayer Divine Intervention came out in 94, which makes a lot of sense because I was in 6th grade in 1996, and Divine Intervention is definitely the first Slayer record I ever heard, because that was like I think it was like their most current whenever I was like kind of hearing metal for the first time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think it might have been the first one I purchased. If it wasn't Seasons in the Abyss, it was Divine Intervention.
Nice. Well, Keith, I'm very glad that you're here. And I want to know if we can start off by having you tell me any stories that you remember about anything involving being broken down on the side of the road.
Oh man. I guess one that comes to mind, though the specifics, I don't remember a whole lot of specifics about it, probably because I was by myself, more or less. And so there's no one to like share, hey, remember the time we did this? And it kind of keeps those memories fresh. But I was taking a bus from the center, like the region center, the Oblast center where I lived in Eastern Ukraine, in Luhansk Oblast. And I was just going back to my Peace Corps site in Bilovodsk, about two hours away. And the bus just like broke down on the side of the road. And we sat there for like 2 or 3 hours before just another bus came. And it was summer. I know I would have had some free time to travel. And I don't remember if I was traveling with any of my like other Peace Corps friends at the time. So I just remember like probably listening to music, trying to eavesdrop and pick out what I could from some Russian to figure out what exactly was happening and how long we would be sitting on the side of the road. And then eventually, yeah, another bus came, and it seemed like standard operating procedure for a lot of the locals who were just like, oh yeah, this happens. And then we finally got on another bus and arrived a couple hours later than we had originally planned. That comes to mind. And though it wasn't, I guess, not the side of the road, my best friend Zach, we had a string of unfortunate vehicle incidents in which we flooded a four-wheeler. So we're just like out riding with my stepdad, and it started raining, and we kind of ended up going into some deep water, and it just got it flooded the engine, and we got stuck, and it was raining really heavily. We were in the middle of the woods on a four-wheeler. We didn't know how to start or fix, or we had no way, we didn't have any phones to get in contact with either my mom or my stepdad to say, hey, here's where we are, which we don't know where we are in the first place. So that was maybe like 45 minutes on the side of a four-wheeler trail in Northwest Indiana. And then with the same friend, we got stuck in Geist Reservoir in Indianapolis on some jet skis. So my aunt said, hey, take out the jet skis. We just put gas in them, and it's a fun time. And I'm like, well, the gas meter says it's on empty. Like, oh no, it's just broken. We just filled them up. I go, okay. So we got about 10 minutes into, cruising around on some jet skis before they both died. And we were like waving people down, and they just waved at us thinking we were waving at them, or they did it strategically so they wouldn't have to help us. And then the people who finally did stop, they were like, oh yeah, we can't pull you back. My boat's not big enough. So then we swam like, I'm guessing it would have been close to like a mile.
Yeah.
Pulling jet skis.
Like you were pulling them with your arms physically while you were kicking?
For a while, I had to do so with my teeth, because I was doing like this, doggy paddle frog swim. And just doing it with one arm wasn't especially effective. So I remember for quite a while having the rope of the jet ski in my teeth, as people were just, cruising by and whipping by. And we were munching out in the middle of a reservoir. So yeah, those are, not the worst stories. Nothing, of course, I was never in any bands to actually have the guaranteed, the certain on-road tour misfortune stories. So I never experienced that, but just enough of some other things like that come to mind. What about you, Greg?
Okay. I do. I've got a couple good ones, and I do have a band one. So in 2003, 2004, I was really good friends with a band from St. Louis called Form Follows Failure. They were a punk band from St. Louis that were very like Belvedere, Wilhelm Scream, Near Miss, Bigwig kind of punk rock. Cool. Members of this band went on, Jevin, the drummer from that band, went on to play in the band Much the Same, which released a record on Nitro and is still a band to this day. The guitarist, Josh, went on to play in Break the Silence from Chicago with Dan Precision, who was in 88 Fingers Louie. And Matt, the guitar player from that band, went on to play in Near Miss briefly. And then Derek from that band went on to, be a touring bassist for a Wilhelm Scream for a little bit. And then, so they were great friends of mine, fabulous band. And we were driving on tour, a very hastily, terribly booked tour that I booked, it. And we had like 10 shows throughout the Southeast. We were like, all right, it's winter. We're leaving town. We're going where it's warm. We're going on tour. So I booked this very haphazard garbage tour with no guarantees or anything. And the first show was in Nashville. So we drive to Nashville, and all of a sudden we're in this minivan pulling a trailer, and it's full of gear and luggage. And all of a sudden smoke starts coming through the vents of the car. So we pull over, we open the hood of the van, and the engine is like bright red, like burning, glowing hot. So we go to the trailer, and we just start getting like cases of bottled water that we had like in the trailer, and we're just dumping bottles of water onto the engine, just trying to cool it off. We had no idea what was going on. And all of a sudden, this car pulls over on the side of the road. We're like, yeah, we're broken down. He's like, well, where are you going? And we're like, well, we have a show here in Nashville tonight. And he's like, well, the venue is like a mile away. I can tow your trailer to the venue and like park the trailer at the venue while you guys get the van towed. So 2 of us were working on getting the van towed, and 2 of us went with this random man who pulled over on the side of the road. We hooked up the trailer to
Did you
this
draw straws to see who was getting in the van with a stranger?
Dude, I had a knife, a gigantic knife with me on the tour. And so I'm like in this guy's back seat holding my knife. Like, if he tries to mess with us, I got this knife. Like, what am I going to do with this knife? And so it was completely ridiculous, but I very well had that knife. And so he does what he says he's going to do. We luck out. We are not murdered. He takes us to the venue. He definitely drops off the trailer. I gave him like $20 as a thank you for his time. And then the other people in the band had the van towed to a shop, and then they took a taxi to the venue. So all of a sudden we're carless in Nashville at the venue. There's a show that night, and we have all the gear. So we start loading the gear in. And they were like, oh, yeah, it's no problem. I know you're going to get your van worked on. You can keep this trailer inside this barbed wire fence that we have tonight, and you can sleep upstairs. It was this venue in Nashville. I think it was called Exit Inn. And so play the show. Next day, wake up. Trailer is gone. Flat out gone. And so, but it was inside a padlocked razor wire lined fence. The sound guy stole the trailer. We told the cops we knew who did it, and they didn't do anything. And they're like, I don't know what to tell you. Sorry. And then the owner of the venue was calling the sound guy over and over on the phone, leaving messages. Did you steal that band's gear? And the guy never picked up the phone. And as far as I know, he never went back to the venue again. So we lost Hamer guitars, Fender basses, a full drum kit.
Here.
I lost a DW snare drum. I had a drum set, so like I brought an extra snare on tour for Jevin to play if he had any problems with his drums, and lost some, like, all of our luggage. It was amazing. We lost absolutely everything. We lost half stack amps with like guitar heads. We lost an Ampeg bass cabinet and a head. So it was like $20,000 worth of gear, and never recovered any of it. And the band broke up shortly thereafter. So yeah, that's my tour story. And I have another story where when I moved to Mexico in 2007, I decided it was a really good idea to buy a 1992 Volkswagen Jetta off a guy who lived down the street from me. And so I paid for it in cash. I don't know if there was a title. And so I was like driving. I was like, oh, I'm going to go drive around in the desert. Because I lived in the middle of the desert. And so I'm going to go joyriding on the highway in the middle of this Mexican city that I've only lived in for like a week. And I get about 8 miles outside of town. And all of a sudden the car just breaks down on the side of the highway. And I was with
it was the sound guy.
It was the guy from Exit.
Sold it to you, takes off his mask, and
God. And yeah, so we get stranded on the side of the road. There was me and 3 other teachers at the school I worked at, just stranded. And so we were it was 2007, so it's not like we were on like smartphones. We were all on like rinky-dink
Mm-hmm.
brick cell phones in Mexico on foreign foreign phone plans. We managed to get somebody to translate. Somebody pulled over and we get them to translate where we are to a tow truck company, and it was it took like 11 hours, and we're just standing in the middle of the desert, and it's like September, so it's blazing hot, and we get the car towed back, and it cost me $800 to get the car towed back. $800. Yeah, I believe I got the American special price.
Right. I was going to say, they're like, I don't know, just say 800.
Yeah, and then
Let's see how much they're willing to pay.
Yeah, it was insane. And so then I took the car, I had it towed back to the guy whose house I bought it at, and I left it like at his house. And I was like, you can have the car back. I don't even want the money. You can just take the car back. So as far as I remember, I gave the car back to the person that I bought it from and said, you can just have it. I don't want it. And but it was definitely broken down. So those are my two breakdown stories. I have jet ski breakdown stories too, but yours is so much funnier, dragging the rope by the teeth, that I'm not even going to try and top you.
I have not been on a jet ski since.
I believe it. Dragging a jet ski for a mile while doggy paddling and kicking with your feet.
You know, it's funny, like thinking about these things in the moment, like travel is so stressful.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're away from home, if you're in a different country, if you're just in an unfamiliar place, I typically don't sleep well when I'm traveling. Like things are expensive, whatever. You just add that all up, and having difficulties while on the road is always just crazy stressful. And you never think in the moment, I'm going to be able to look back and laugh on this. But
yeah.
Of course, now it's like, who cares?
Oh, it was amazing. And like having like an entire trailer get stolen by the sound man of a venue where you're playing with your like a college punk band is hilarious. I mean, it's horrible.
Yeah.
And we were totally traumatized. But like looking back, I was like, wow, that was actually kind of an amazing moment of my life. Like, you know?
We need to get that guy on the podcast.
The sound man?
Yeah.
Be like, bro, just admit it.
Was he waiting for like the opportune moment to just jump on, you know, some either starry-eyed young band and then take advantage of them and leave his menial job behind or whatever? Like, what's the backstory here? I need to know a little bit more.
So if anybody listens to this podcast who knows Nashville well, email us and I will tell you the name of the person who I believe stole it, and you can investigate for me behind the scenes and see if the person's like, yeah, I did it. So what? You know what I mean? Because it was 20 years ago. What are you going to do about it now? Nothing. It's not like I'm going to be like, okay, I'm going to take you to court, man. You admitted it. I am curious though, if anybody knows the person who did it. So Exit In was the venue in Nashville. So hit me up. Okay, well, Keith, it's been about a year and a quarter since we've done an episode together, I think. And I think that many of the listeners out there are curious what you have been up to since you have been away from the show.
Yeah. You know, like we had this plan to do a little bit of a reflective deep dive into my time that I spent in Ukraine. And to share some information about its more modern history, just to provide some context for the invasion that began last year, which kind of ate up my mental and emotional well-being for quite a few months before my host family, my host sister was able to get out of the country and get to Germany, and my host brother could get to Lviv, all the way out west from Kharkiv, and that ate up quite a bit of my just energy, I guess, as a whole. And we had some cool ideas to share some information and maybe tag it on to like a night letters, and some of the lyrical content was pretty similar. And then I ran out of steam, and then I was applying for jobs, and interviewing for jobs, and there was this very uncertain moment in like May and June to where I knew a lot of the teachers I was working with last year were not coming back to the same school. I was pretty fried at that position to where I didn't really want to be there anymore. It was just didn't really feel like a good fit. If I felt supported by individuals and like the admin and like the people, I didn't feel supported by like the institution, right? Like the systems in place. So, I spent a lot of time applying for jobs, I would say close to 40. Some of them I knew I would never get, like in some really, really good school districts around Pittsburgh. My wife's family's from Western PA. And, I was like, man, I'm not getting any feedback, or I would just get an email that said this position has been filled. I'm like, I'm not even going to get an interview. So there's this kind of this period where things just felt very uncertain, and hopeless is melodramatic and hyperbolic, but I just felt like, man, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm going to be stuck here. And I got a couple interview offers. I did an interview near Harrisburg in not far from Mechanicsburg, PA. The same day that I left to come out here for that, I did an online interview with Gettysburg School District, and then up in Erie, what else? Slippery Rock, and then like one or two other districts showed some interest. And it was a wild summer of just driving. This is last summer of driving, interviewing, kind of trying to set things up, doing demo lessons. PA is very different from Indiana for those who aren't in education or aren't from the US. Things are set up by the state, and they're individual and they're distinct to each state. So going from one state to another and seeing how things are done differently was very informative, but there's also just a learning curve to it. So after driving, I think I estimated that the driving I did last summer was like Chicago to Anchorage, Alaska, for job interviews and for to try to like move to PA, where we could be a little closer to my wife's family, where the teacher pay was better, where we were just hoping to eventually settle. And eventually I got a couple job offers, and I accepted one in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. I'm teaching 8th grade civics. So still social studies, not strictly US history. And, it's a really cool place to live and to teach and to try to combine and connect, the local history, which is for those who aren't familiar, Gettysburg is widely considered to be the decisive / turning point battle of the U.S. Civil War. The Gettysburg Address given by Lincoln kind of takes the ideas of the American Revolution and provides this update to them, saying that we're now extending them to, not just white Americans, but Black Americans as well. But it's a decisive battle of the Civil War, where something like 3 million rounds are fired across the span of 3 days, July 1st to July 3rd, 1863. It's the deadliest battle of the Civil War. So, I mean, you're talking tens of thousands of casualties. And, despite it being relatively small, it's only 8,000 people today. There's like 1 million tourists that come to see the national parks, the battlefields. And that's just a big adjustment to where I've lived previously. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to see. And there's a lot to connect with my classroom and with my school. Doing so with a toddler has not been, it's kind of piecemeal. It's doing a little bit at a time. So the move has felt somewhat anticlimactic, like being very intense, having less than 3 weeks to from getting the job offer to move back to Indiana, to get back to Indiana, to either pack up or give away everything I had. Because we had nowhere to store it, because I had nowhere to live.
Man.
And then get back to PA to set up a classroom, to find a place to live, to try to like at least pretend like I was ready for the school year last year. And so it was pretty stressful couple weeks, and then kind of came to a grinding halt once the school year started, and there's finally a routine and a schedule again. And then, like I said, having a 2.5-year-old now, it just makes it hard to get out and do too much. So we've kind of slowly explored and tried to find some things that we like doing, together as as a family. If it's local parks and playgrounds and some places away from where the tourists tend to congregate. But yeah, that's it. And then a good first school year. I feel like there are a lot of things that I was really proud of. There's always things that, I know I could do better, but a really cool group of kids. They always say, we found you online and we listened to your podcast, and it's actually pretty good. And how many of them actually listen? I don't really think it. I think they just like to give compliments or make me think that they've heard what I've said. And a couple of them maybe. But that's the first thing they do is Google their teachers, especially when it's someone new to the district. So they are at least passingly aware of the show and the fact that I like some music that I don't really look like I like. But yeah, it was a good first school year, and excited to continue to connect with people and connect with the local college, the local park rangers, to try to just build out my classroom to where it's not just what's happening in my room but with the community as a whole.
Do you feel like you live there yet? Because for me, when I moved from Missouri to New York, it was a really hard thing finding a group of people. Do you know what I mean? Like, I felt really alone for a long time. Have you had any luck in that?
No, no. I kind of typically share. I've put gas in my car 4 times this year.
Wow.
Like 4 times since Christmas, I don't get out much. And I've connected with some teachers who are really just, super supportive and have some similar interests. The science teacher on my team listens to a bunch of metal, and it's slowly kind of unfolded to where he's like, oh yeah, I used to see this band called Converge. I'm like, wait, you listen to Converge? So, I've connected with some people at work, but most people don't live in Gettysburg because it's really hard to find housing. It's also very expensive. So that they have families and they live 30 minutes or 45 minutes away. So like the people that I know, I don't really have too much of an opportunity to connect with outside the school hours. And then setting up a new curriculum, and again, having a bonkers, crazy little 2.5-year-old. It's hard to get out with him. So the other time that I would have to maybe meet others, we haven't had yet. Yeah. And I've had to keep reminding myself that, that it's a season, that this is temporary, that there's been quite a bit of isolation of just like not really having, if before the last couple years, either because of COVID or, my son being born at the end of 2020, I still knew and was really close with a lot of teachers at my last school. I mean, I literally worked with my best friend, the water ski ATV guy. Those stories from high school. I work with my best friend, and now like I would say I'm like maybe friends with people at my new school, but it's just not the same as like knowing people for literally 30 years and seeing them every day at work. So yeah, not too much. And we've giving away pretty much like I gave away all my furniture because I had nowhere to put it. Mm-hmm. Like we're in this rental, this home that we're renting right now, and it's pretty big. I mean, it's like 4 bedrooms, and we just got a couch like 2 months ago. So it was like a step up from squatting. It felt like it looked like, I don't know, it looked like people were squatting there, but they were like responsible crust punks.
Yeah.
Like they did the dishes and they
Nice.
swept and they cleaned up. They just didn't have any furniture.
Yeah.
So that has also made it feel like we're not really settled, even though we have a routine, because it just doesn't look or feel like a place where people live. Because we haven't had like the time or the money or even just like the desire to go and buy a whole bunch of stuff, knowing we weren't going to be staying at this house for long. It was mostly just like, all right, this is all we can find, and this is the best option that we can uncover in the week that I had to try to find a place to live while visiting Gettysburg before the school year started. So yeah, not yet. But even though that sounds negative or bad or whatever, once my son starts going to school, I'm sure he'll make friends and I'll meet their parents, and then I'll go, oh wait, I don't want to be around people.
Yeah. The
It'll be the
parent
reminder, like, wait a second, no.
Yeah, the parent social circle is really where you get looped in as a dad or as a mom in a town where you're kind of new to. Like, I know a lot of my daughter's friends' parents very well now.
Cool. So fingers crossed that I meet some like-minded is not the word I really want to use, but it's what's coming to mind. Some people that I can tolerate being around.
Yeah.
Especially just not being around people the last couple of years, aside from, my family and my students. But like I said, it's a cool place to live. There's a lot to see. And even with things being stressful, even with them being pretty overwhelming, there was never a time where I was like, oh man, what the hell did I do? I've like upended my life for this kind of uncertain or unsettled change, but it's just a reminder that where we are right now specifically is like, that's temporary, and like the move as a whole has been very, very positive. I started seeing a therapist because my school supports that, and that was something that I realized last fall, not even just from the move, just some other stuff going on, that I was like, man, I need additional help aside from just the positive things that friends and colleagues would say. So to get some help to deal with some stress and some interpersonal stress or whatever, I've seen the move as a way to rebrand a little bit, and that sounds corny, but teachers can be negative. Teachers can be very negative about each other, about students, about the district, whatever. And I have been very negative and judgmental and critical in a way that's not constructive, in a way that doesn't actually bring about any meaningful change. It's just complaining to complain. So I wanted to really try to get away from that sort of like teacher lounge, gossipy, negative feedback loop. And I think it's worked. I think people, their interpretation of me, and people have told me how they see me, is very different from what I think others would say. So I'm a lot more reserved. I try to keep my head down a little bit to maybe not rock the boat as being a newbie, but also just to kind of hold my cards a little closer to my chest, whether it's about myself or about what's going on in my classroom. That way I just don't have a big flag or target waving on whatever it is. Being an outsider in a really small school district, in a really small town, just not knowing like the political, personal ins and outs, I think it's been kind of wise to not interject or chime in or latch on to whatever back and forth I hear. And it just felt better to kind of connect with the people who are really positive, the people who are, they want to talk about the good things that they see. They want to talk about the positives. And if they notice there are problems or challenges or struggles, they don't put it off on others. They're like, all right, what can we do to fix this and address it? And that's just felt better. It just feels really good to try to do that more rather than just to fall into the, like, there's nothing we can do. That's just how it is. And then we just kind of complain and then don't actually work to fix things.
I am completely guilty of all of those exact things you just said. So this is a nice little reminder for me, thinking about how I am very prone to doing exactly all of that. So thank you for being so candid, because I can relate so much, and it's really easy to avoid thinking about the ways that you contribute to the negative things around you. And learning how to like take control over those types of things within your own life and to control what you can control. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And for me, like working with people so much, like I knew what my colleagues and coworkers before would think about me. They would think, I was probably, really concerned about my students, concerned about my school. I work hard, but maybe I don't always have a filter, and maybe I don't really think about the things that and I don't mean like some sort of edgy guy, like, oh yeah, I get in trouble. No, I don't mean that. I really mean not thinking about what I say and how that could, how either it could hurt someone or how someone could interpret it. And just thinking or talking and saying things before I really thought it through. And, now people are like, well, you're so reserved and you're so quiet and you're a little bit of an introvert. And I'm like, really? Is that what, because I still think about myself the same. But my colleagues now, they have a different interpretation. So I realize, what I've tried to do, and I've tried not to be super negative, and they see that even after just a little bit of time. And that's just probably not how I've been used to thinking about myself.
Awesome. Well, Keith, I'm really glad that we could do this, because so many listeners of the podcast who, were around for our era, you know what I mean? Through episode 79, I think, or whatever, was note to self. I think that was the last time you were here.
I think so. Yeah.
And then I just hit it super hard with like tons of random like bonus episodes and all kinds of weird stuff. And I experimented with all kinds of different formats. And now Steve and I are kicking butt trying to finish out the rest of the discography. And with no new Propaganda record on the horizon for the foreseeable future, as far as I can tell, there is a real shot that we might actually finish all of the songs before the band does a new album. So, I'm wondering what your thoughts are on the project that you and I worked on for like 2 years together. Like, what are your like big takeaway lessons and ideas, and like, what do you like take away from all this crazy stuff that we did together?
Oh man, yeah, that's a good question. Well, first, I guess I'd say, like, if people were, especially for those not on social media, that I was pretty active on Twitter, even while taking a break from the show last summer, and then kind of, de facto leaving without really formally saying like, oh, I got to take some time away, or I'm going to be stepping away from co-hosting, and not really being forward with that. So I guess I apologize for not being...
Don't have to apologize.
Yeah. Well, maybe just at least addressing that, since I never said, hey, I'm going to take a break, or I'm probably not going to be involved in the same way that I was before. So if there was some uncertainty or ambiguity there, I guess that's what I'm apologizing for, less so about actually doing it. But, if I think of, I guess, takeaways, one is how much just incredible stuff that I came across and learned about researching and preparing my thoughts or interpretations, or just what comes to mind when doing an analysis of the lyrics, and then wherever those things would take me. I feel like it was really cool to research in a way that I hadn't done in a pretty long time. that was like something that I partly dreaded because it was a lot of work, but
It's
also
so much work.
Yeah, but I also look forward to, because you never really know exactly what you would come across. And then just the chance of getting to know you more, to make a connection, and to think of the progress we made. I think not just in terms of like downloads or listeners, but over time, I think putting out a better product. I was pretty upfront at the beginning saying that I wasn't a podcaster and I wasn't a YouTuber, and like this is all kind of new to me. So I always felt pretty self-conscious, putting my ideas out and talking about someone else's work, in all of those ways. Like it was just something new and I had never done before. And the fact that people liked it is just like, I mean, I don't know. That's probably the biggest thing, is just how like supportive and encouraging, listeners were. And that's awesome. And then the interviews that we got to do, and some of them like really early on, and then some of them were a couple years in the making. But sometimes an episode would just evolve and change in a way from our talk or from the guest interview, that the final product would be something that we put together that would be drastically different from however I imagined it in the first place. And it was a lot of fun, a lot of work. We said that a lot and we shared a lot, but like I'm pretty sure it's at least part of the reason why I developed acid reflux and GERD. Because every Sunday night, and I tell you, every Sunday night, like in the fall of 2020, I'd spend the weekend like more or less being my grandmother's caregiver, and then coming home and doing all the chores and schoolwork and things I needed to do, and then doing the prep for the show. And then we would record Sunday night. And then every Sunday night I'd wake up and feeling like I was having a panic attack, like an hour in the sleep. And it happened every Sunday night for about a month before I realized, like, I didn't realize it was the stress of the weekend, but before I realized like something's wrong. So I think just packed on of everything else, preparing to have a kid, the school year, teaching online, teaching in person, helping a elderly family member. There was a lot going on, and it's very demanding. And if you want to create a meaningful product, and that's why I didn't really want to keep going in last summer of 2022, because I just didn't feel like I would be able to put my head and heart into something that would be worth recording and listening. If the stuff before I really spent a lot of time on, and then people responded positively to, I was like, man, I don't have it in the gas tank right now. So yeah, all of that. I don't know. That was kind of a meandering answer, but to recap, I think our connection and getting to know you a lot more, the research, the guest interviews are super cool. Like thinking back to some of the people I got to talk to, and then just putting something out that, so many people said this helped my quarantine time, or if they were having something in their lives going on personally or medically or whatever, and it was like something that filled their day. Like that's a crazy thing to think, that just me talking about something I like entertained people who never met me. Like, what a cool thing. And I feel very fortunate to have been involved in that.
Well, I am very fortunate for all of the same reasons. I feel exactly the same.
Yeah,
I am so glad that, when you think about life and you think about random relationships that you build over the course of your life, there are just these certain people in your life that go on these certain strange adventures. You know what I mean? Like you were talking about your buddy, where you guys got stranded in the woods on 4-wheelers and then stranded in the middle of a lake. Like that's a little adventure with a person that it's like those are the types of moments that you remember when you're like, okay, I'm like 87, I'm about to die. You know what I mean? This is one of those experiences for me doing this with you. It's one of those types of experiences that, like, if I'm 87 and I'm dying, it's going to be like, man, we did that cool thing. So
Yeah.
it's a real thrill. So Keith, thank you so much for coming on. I do have to say that I think that we put Propagandy's The Van Lament to absolute shame with this conversation. I think that our Van Lament kicked their Van Lament's butt. So, yeah.
We'll have to cut in some Slayer in the background, though.
Love it. Well, Keith, thanks so much for doing this. And I hope that the rest of your summer goes spectacularly and that the next school year you're able to ease in with a little bit more smoothness and comfort and preparedness than you were able to last summer, because I was watching you go through some stuff, man. And people were like, how's Keith? And I was like, he's really busy. He's got a lot happening. He is fine though, I assure you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, Greg, and I appreciate this idea. Like, this was your idea for the catch up and the recap and connecting it to the Van Lament. So, you know, your invitation and your idea, I think it was a good time to take a couple minutes away and to catch up. I appreciate it.
Love it. Well, if you want to get in touch, I'm always on Instagram at PropagandyPod, and you can email us at propagandapod@gmail.com. Keith Goff, real pleasure to have you back. And everybody, we'll see you next time.
I was just asking Derek what he thought of the past 20-some days, aside from this.
It's been the best time of my life.
And what was the highlight for you, Jord?
The highlight?
The highlight.
I don't know.
All right. I'd just like to make a note that it smells in the van right now. And about 37 seconds ago, it didn't.
Don't say.
It didn't. So,
Don't say. You don't
Derek,
say.
what's your hypothesis of why it smells all of a sudden in the van?
It's called Sword Van Smells. The creator of farts, Jord Smolinski, announces his awakening after every sleep by farting. It's his way of telling everybody he's up.
You passing those?